about this picture. Here's what I can't get over also is that the journalists, media, that's supposed to represent ordinary Americans. I keep coming back to that today. Who is representing all of the questions that Americans have? Who is going to hold that man accountable for his statements and the fact that policy flows from this authority that he has essentially granted himself that affects every American? And meanwhile, to those stadiums, look, I love a good football game. You know it. And
look at the U.S. Open. It was packed. I didn't hear him talking about that.
Exactly. And that should be a local decision. So, for example, my home stadium, Huskies, best team in the world, they have, all you have to do, you show your vaccination card or you show a proof of a negative test, right? Masks are a different story. It's a different issue at this moment. But the whole point is that they set what's best for them and they set a way to have those fans enjoy the civic life that we are all a part of, and the social life and culture and community, without ostracizing them, coming from this one man who continues to be given a pass on fundamental issues, including the origination of this virus and what this administration, what he knew about it.
So I always believe that comeuppance, Southern word, it gets you in the end. So it's coming. Why lie about this? Why not just say what the truth is and say, I don't know, fog of war. I'm sure they can come up with something. But, be honest about it. China's not going to let us look at their records now, if there are any to even see anymore, if they haven't destroyed everything.
No, and he can't be truthful because the truth would mean that very likely, if this did originate in the lab, U.S. taxpayer dollars helped to fund a pandemic that was unleashed upon the world out of a lab in Wuhan, China. What is so galling to me is when you read these 900 pages of documents that were obtained by The Intercept, the grant request actually acknowledges the dangers of this research. So Dr. Fauci, I presume he read the application for the grant, which said the grant proposal acknowledges some of these dangers. Fieldwork involves the highest risk of exposure to SARS or other COVIDs while working in caves with high bat density overhead and potential fecal dust to be inhaled. So presumably he read this, and presumably he greenlighted the funding and now lying about it to Congress. But Senator Rand Paul's been on this from the beginning. I hope it continues.
Vivek, I look at this also slightly different way. Was it just a lie? Or was it people are too busy? They're not smart enough to figure this out. I will say it this way and make it really, really simple. We didn't pay for the pandemic.
Well, look, I think that it is really important to see with clear eyes what the likely source of this pandemic was. All right, the U.S. had a ban on gain-of-function research. Rogue scientists disagreed with that decision. Anthony Fauci is on the record disagreeing with that decision. Decides through the back door to use private parties to fund it abroad, including in China, and then either by accident or worse, that leaked from a lab and created the pandemic of a century. Do you wonder why Americans mistrust science or scientific elites? They have given you no reason to trust anything that they say. The possible responsible parties, in part, for the origin of a global pandemic, the greatest pandemic of century, going about lying about it for the course of the last year, now say wear masks and wear vaccines, have given the public no reason to actually trust them. And to me, I'm speaking as I studied molecular biology at Harvard. I care about the pursuit of science. I care about the pursuit of truth. I care about public trust in science. And we have a crisis of public trust in science. But the reason why isn't because ordinary people are too stupid to know that they should trust science. It is because the scientific elites in this country, including Dr. Anthony Fauci, has given the public absolutely no reason to trust them at all.
Just allow me, Kennedy, I want to double down on something specific. As I've been talking with nurses and doctors, 40% of whom in a city where we are now, New York City, reportedly 30 to 40% now, maybe what the number's changing a bit, are not vaccinated. And it's for some of the reasons why you're talking. They don't trust the science-based medical industry that they live in because they have seen so many different things.
Look, I've lived in elite America, including among scientific elites, and nothing annoys me more right now than the scorn for the people who are skeptical of getting the vaccine, or the scorn for the people who are skeptical of the advice that they get, without looking in the mirror and asking themselves what role they played in fueling that crisis of institutional mistrust. And I think they ought to look in the mirror first for deciding where that originated.
And by the way, you've given us a way to get out of this. We can talk about it. If they don't trust scientists, which is what you're saying, maybe you're right.